Canadian baseball fans are still in mourning after the Toronto Blue Jays' heartbreaking Game 7 World Series loss to the LA Dodgers last week. Now, the playoff run may have been a surprise to those not paying attention. Heck, it was even a surprise to those who were paying attention. But despite the loss, it was an incredible experience to see the excitement that was brought to fans across this country. Now, other than the Dodgers, the big winners in all of this, of course, were small businesses in and around the action. They saw their business spike during those stress-filled game nights, and here to put a wrap on that story for this year is our resident consumer spending data expert, Sean McCormick. Sean, thank you for joining me. I wish you was under better circumstances.
So you're still in mourning, are you?
Oh, look at me. I'm wearing
buddy.
gray. I mean, that's as close as I'm going to get to mourning here.
Chin up. It was a fun run. It was only one team can win.
I know.
Dodgers had like a $50 billion payroll. That was an uphill battle. I thought it was kind of fun.
It was a lot of fun, more stressful than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I'm old enough to remember 92 and 93, but I don't recall the stress being this much.
It's pretty fun. When your favorite team or the team in your city runs it deep in the playoffs, it's really gripping.
Yeah.
It's a special time. I mean, families share it with each other. It brings people so close together.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting texts from buddies and, my dad and I were texting every night during the games. Usually we only connect every, few weeks. It's really a special time for people who are fans of a team. You end up realizing that it is a community.
Yes.
To be a sports fan of a particular team, that is a community. And when your team runs it deep, it's an opportunity to connect with that community. And that's why we see the lift and spend right around those event days, whether that is World Series baseball, Leafs in the playoffs, Oilers in the playoffs the last couple of years, going to the final. We were seeing lift right across the country. It's a pretty cool time. And the Blue Jays was a good run. Only one team can win, though. It's the journey, not the destination. There's always next year.
There's always next year. And just to give you an example of how this team captured the imagination of even non-baseball fans, the night of Game 7, I was playing with my band at a hockey fundraiser in Georgina. So my wife and kids were at home, 3 people who wouldn't know if a sporting event were on unless I was home making them watch it.
Right.
And I was getting texts from them saying, why is this so stressful? So they were watching unprompted without me being there. And they're like, this is really stressful. We're really into this game and we can't believe what's going on. So it even converted my non-sporting family.
Yeah. And you know what? It was fun regardless of your location. So all of those people who mortgaged their houses to get tickets in the 500 level.
Oh, wow.
Rogers Center. I mean, good for them. It's a memory we'll never forget. But you know what? The memories watching the game in my basement with my 14-year-old son, I'll never forget those either. And those that cost significantly less, right? That cost me $20 for a stuffed crust pizza and a couple of beers and a couple of cans of Coke for him, right?
So watching that game that night, I couldn't help but notice the shots of Nathan Phillips Square packed with fans and hearing stories that, Maple Leaf Square was holding a watch party. And of course, the folks at the Dome. So, I mean, the city was buzzing and all I can think of, I can't wait to talk to Sean because I'm sure this might have had a bit of an effect on consumer spending that night.
Right. It did. No question. So right around the stadium, the lift was enormous. We saw in Game 6, it was a 20% lift around the stadium. That's in restaurant and bars. And then in Game 7, it was another 20% again on top of that. So it was 26% lift.
Crazy.
Near Rogers Center. That is crazy. It's huge.
And that's a Friday and Saturday night. So those are already busy nights in downtown Toronto.
Right. So that 26% versus similar Friday or Saturday nights, it's considerable. Like it's notable to say the least. Interestingly, we didn't see a massive lift citywide in Game 6 or 7. We saw a 1% increase. So 1% is something. It's measurable. It's not the 8, 9, 10% that we were seeing in the ALCS after a couple of wins. And I think that's the key. When you look at lift citywide, let's start with in and around Rogers Center. That's the epicenter of the event. It's the epicenter of the energy, the center of the sun, right? Like that's where the fire burns the hottest. So you're going to see that 26% that we saw game 6 and 7. Game 6 and 7 were both losses.
Yeah.
So that fire is still burning super hot, even though it was a loss. As you get out, you stretch out towards, the outskirts of downtown and in and around the GTA. If people are out at the bars, remembering that it's a Friday or Saturday night to start with, so you've got a higher base to work with, like it's always going to be busy and there's always going to be a lot of money spent in a bar or restaurant on a Friday or a Saturday. In order to get that significant lift, I think the Blue Jays needed to win.
Right.
That would have induced customers to hang out longer, right? A win in game 6 or 7 would have been winning the World Series.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then the champagne gets popped, right? The corks get popped in the champagne bottles and people throw caution to the wind and they're buying rounds of drinks. They're buying more food. They're hanging out longer. They're hanging out to close. Whereas after a loss, I mean, if you're at home, you might not even go out.
No, I can attest to that.
With 4 outs to go in game 7, it looked like the Blue Jays were going to win. I was watching the game at home with my son. I wasn't out at a bar or restaurant. I was texting my buddies saying, where are we meeting up?
Right. Yes.
And we would have gone out and run up some bar tabs and contributed to significant lift. We didn't because they lost.
Yeah.
And I don't think that my scenario was isolated. I think that
you're right.
There were a lot of people would have had a similar reaction.
Well, I think even ahead of the game, if you're anywhere in the city, and as you said, a win in game 6 or 7 would have been winning the World Series, you probably want to get as close to the action as you can get. So if you're not at home like you were with your son watching it, and you live in Toronto, you might be down at Nathan Phillips Square, or you might be down at Maple Leaf Square, because you want to be there when the crowd erupts and when the celebration begins. So that kind of makes sense. But I can also attest, like I said, I was playing a hockey fundraiser, which was very unfortunately scheduled on game 7 night. So
did you have a monitor in view?
There were big screens and no one was paying attention to the band. And that's okay, because the band wasn't paying attention to the band either. I had an eye on the screen at all times.
Tough gig.
Oh, it was a very tough gig. But we had fun. But yeah, as soon as it was over, there was a pretty big crowd. They all left. They weren't in the mood to party.
You saw it firsthand.
Exactly. So it makes sense. Now, the other thing I see here from the numbers is a good increase in transaction size, which also makes sense because people were staying out longer.
Yeah. So in game 6, we saw dollar volume up 20%, transaction size up 14%. So that's per transaction.
Yeah.
So what that says is because the transaction volume was up more than the transaction size, that's more transactions. So that's just more people jamming into the bars and restaurants to start with, which is hard to do, right, on a Friday or Saturday because you have finite capacity. And the transaction size up 14%, that tracks. People are eating and drinking more during the game. They're fired up. They're watching their team win, and then the team blows the lead, and then they go,
yeah. Keep on reminding me. Anyway,
it's not over. The podcast isn't over. Our relationship isn't over.
Oh, no.
Just the Blue Jays lost, right?
Yeah.
Stay away from sharp objects.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you for walking me off that ledge. Now, if folks want to learn more about what Moneris Data Services can do to help their business, where would you direct them?
MonerisDataServices.com or dataservices.moneris.com.
There you go.
Either one of those will work.
Perfect. So we'll send them over there. Thank you again, Sean, for all the time you've spent today.
My pleasure, brother.